He is the Tinfoil Chef, a man with a video love.
Hey YouTube, how's it going? Well, yesterday I hinted at talking about a plan that I had a few years ago. Actually, several years ago. This plan came about in 2009. In 2009, several months before I started doing a lot of YouTube videos. I think the very first few videos on this channel had been made. They were cooking type related videos, and it was before I started vlogging about weight loss, and then eventually went on to do all the other things that I've done since then. But one of the things that I was doing back in those days, and remember this is before the government did their thing that nuked online real money poker in the United States. This was before that. In July of 2009, Full Tilt Poker. See, I had been playing in the play money games on Full Tilt Poker on and off for a year or two. And slowly but surely, gradually getting a little better here and there, learning a few things. You know, watching the pros on cable when I could, until I didn't have cable in January of that year. In January of 09, I didn't have cable anymore. My wife had died the previous December, and I couldn't afford the cable anymore, so it went away. But when I had it, I watched the World Poker Tour. I watched the World Series of Poker, circuit events, the tournaments, and of course the main event. And I watched the pros. I looked at what they were doing. I watched, I learned, so on. Since then, I've spent a lot of time reading stuff. I've got some books by, I got one by Daniel Negreanu, I got one by Phil Hellmuth, and there's a David Sklansky book in there somewhere, and so on. You know, I've read a good bunch of stuff, too. And I'm rereading it these days, again, as well. But in July 2009, Full Tilt Poker held a free roll tournament. A free roll tournament is one that anyone can enter with no fee, and you can win a prize of some value. Usually a free roll means that there is a cash prize value that the top X amount of players will win, or share in, actually. In this case, this free roll was for the purpose of the top 4,000 places would get a free entry into another tournament to be held later called the Record Breaker. So this was the Record Breaker free roll. 30,005 people started in that tournament. It was a pretty big online tournament. 30,005 people started. I finished within the top 4,000. I didn't think, I've been looking at my old notes, and I didn't think to write down exactly what place I finished in, but I know it was in the top 4,000 because I won an entry into the Record Breaker. That means I outlasted at least 26,000 other players. Maybe that doesn't make me a great poker player. I'm still very much the amateur. But I couldn't have done too bad if I outlasted 26,000 people. Not too shabby. Not too long after that, like a few days after that, there was another one. Another free roll. This was another really big one. It had to do with a Poker Players Alliance petition or something. It was associated with that, promoting that petition or whatever. 23,375 people started. See, this one I had actual numbers for. 23,375 people started. I was not eliminated until 4,061st place out of 23,000 to start. Not too bad. And then came the Record Breaker. Now the Record Breaker, and I'm still leading up to the plan, and I know I've been yapping for a long time, and I'm sorry, but it's necessary to get the detail here, and I want to talk about this anyway. The record breaker was at that time, it was the biggest online poker tournament ever. The most number of players in an online poker tournament. They were bidding to get into the Guinness Book of World Records. And they did hold the record for about 2 weeks, I think it was, until PokerStars beat it. But 50,000 people started in that tournament. Now, this was not a really great weekend for me because I had a migraine. I was playing with a migraine, and I finished in 24,097th place. Doesn't sound very good, but compare it to the 50,000 starting. I outlasted half of the field playing with a migraine. That's not too bad. Later, a week or two later, PokerStars went on to beat that record with a 65,000 people tournament. And in June of 2013, PokerStars established the record of 225,000 people in one online poker tournament at once. That's pretty strong. In August, Full Tilt Poker had the 10K National Poker Week free roll. 8,424 people started. The top 1,800 places were paid. I finished in 845th place. I only won about $1.15 or something like that out of that, but still not too shabby. It was around that time, July and August of 2009, that I read some stuff on the Full Tilt Poker site, which has changed massively since those days. But this was some stuff written by Ferguson, big top poker player, top poker pro, and basically the idea was to be entering in free roll tournaments, cash in the free roll tournament, win if at all possible, but at the very least cash in the tournament. And the winnings, of course, in those tournaments all go into your Full Tilt Poker account, and that's where I left it. I left it all there. And after several tournaments, I had reached a point where I had enough winnings that I was okay with going into the real money side of the site on the actual ring games, the table games. And I started playing on the micro stakes games, the tables with $1 buy-in. Something like 5 and 10 cent blinds and $1 buy-in. Something like that. And I was working on very slowly but surely building the bankroll. And I was getting it done. The idea was to keep building the bankroll and going to gradually, over time, going to higher and higher stakes games. I was on my way. I had gotten the bankroll, which started at $0. I never made a single deposit. Everything came from the free rolls or from winning at the tables. And I was up to, considering micro stakes, I was doing pretty good. I was up to about I think almost $5. And then came the Black Friday of poker. And you can Google that, it's a real thing. It's a whole lot different than the Black Friday that comes after Thanksgiving. This one happened, I believe it was in April. And April of 2010, I think, or was it 2011? I don't remember exactly. But the government the U.S. government came in and decided, okay, we're putting a stop to all of this. And websites were seized by the FBI, and transactions were stopped, and they arranged, I believe it was the government that arranged for PayPal to stop accepting transactions from online poker sites and stuff like that. And lots and lots and lots of people lost whatever they had in their online poker accounts, be it regardless of what site it was with. If they lived in the U.S., what they had disappeared. And a lot of people got really angry about it, but, you know, what are you going to do? The government's going to do what it's going to do. But that right there had put a stop, a complete scorcher on the plan that I had. The plan was to keep going with the free rolls and the micro stakes cash games, build it up, step up to gradually, slowly, one stakes level at a time. You know, don't play in a game unless you've got enough to buy into it at least 5 times. You know, that kind of thing. And so on. And I think that had I enacted this plan 6 months or a year earlier, I would be in a vastly different situation right now. Because that might very well have, I think that would have very well probably been enough time to accumulate enough cash and actually turn it into cash that I can spend, that when the big Black Friday of poker thing happened, I could have very nicely moved to somewhere where it was still legal to do that thing, or to somewhere where it would be convenient to do that thing at live tables with live games. Somewhere or another, I'm going to find a way to reactivate that plan, to start it over again and actually do it. And now I just looked at the camera. It says that I've been recording for over almost 13 minutes now. It's long past time for me to shut up. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out of here.
Mr. TinFoilChef.